Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the holidays. If you missed the last video, I just went over some kind of generic ideas and things for the holidays, and this video I'm going to specifically break down each month and just share a couple ideas or topics that you could explore with your homeschoolers just to make it more relevant to the current calendar year. So if you missed that video, I will post the link in the comments somewhere, or I might put it somewhere on this video. Just check that out if you want to. So the first month of the year is January, and I thought it would be fitting with Martin Luther King Jr. celebration in January to talk about slavery and maybe the different cultures. And you want to foster a love and appreciation for different. Different doesn't mean wrong. So a different culture, they may do different, they may have different traditions, they may wear different clothing, they may look different than you, but we're all created in God's image. So they're still human and they're still loved. We're all the same human species, right? And this just fosters that love and appreciation for differences. So I think whenever we can bring that in, it's a great opportunity. So January, with it being Martin Luther King Jr. and he was all for equal rights, that would be a perfect opportunity. The next month in February, it only comes natural to learn about the heart, right? Because you have the Valentine's Day holiday. So you could get real technical and learn about, depending on the ages of your children, you could like really study the actual heart and how it's not really a heart shape, and maybe talk about the circulatory system and the different jobs. There's lots of fun ideas. If you look online, I love to check Pinterest for all the crafty moms that come up with things. There's different models that you can make of like the blood, like an edible model of the blood. Super fun. And you could even do random acts of kindness this month. It's good to do random acts of kindness any month, but especially if you're studying the heart, kindness is just a very easy go-to. There's lots of ideas on that too. Random acts of kindness, that's fun to get your kids involved so they can kind of see that and how that all works. The next month is March, and with St. Patrick's Day, I thought it might be fun to do a country study of Ireland and learn about St. Patrick's Day and what it really is and why we focus so much on the green and all of that. So that would be a neat way to learn more about the country instead of just focusing on wearing green that day. Make it more of a history and a geography plug for your homeschoolers and make it relevant. And of course, it'll be fun to do all the silly St. Patrick's Day things like put green food dye in your breakfast and have green pancakes, or you could even read like Dr. Seuss' Green Eggs and Ham and find all of the green things that you can in your day. You could do like a word search with different words that are green things, or even a scavenger hunt, see who can find the most green things in the house. Write stories that are about green things, or you can only eat green things that day. The possibilities are endless, but I thought it would be fun to do green and study Ireland. Now, Easter can fall kind of wherever, depending on things that I'd never have been able to understand. It's either March or April, so wherever it falls, obviously Easter is going to be a big holiday that you're going to want to study. Maybe you study the history of Easter. Obviously, we could read the Bible story of when Jesus arose from the dead and the tomb was empty. There's this cool thing where you can get marshmallows and dip them in melted butter and then roll them in cinnamon sugar and cover them with a croissant and bake them. And when you bake it, the marshmallow like dissolves, so it creates an empty hole inside of the croissant roll. So we call those empty tombs. That's a fun little snack to really hit home that the tomb is empty and the marshmallow is white, so it represents like the purity of Jesus. So that's a fun activity. We've done that one before. And then get into some of the symbolisms that we have in our faith of Christianity, why the cross means so much, and maybe start to look at what the secular world does with Easter and how some of those may or may not contradict what the Bible says about Easter. So it's always fun to sneak history in whenever you can. Easter, I think, is a great holiday to study, and historically how different people have celebrated Easter. Of course, April 1st, you've got to do jokes for April Fool's Day, right? My daughters love reading jokes and all the little corny jokes. They've got probably 3 or 4 different joke books. So you could have a whole day of jokes. If you're into like practical jokes, you could do those. I am not. But that would be a fun way to celebrate the first April Fool's Day. It's not really a celebrated holiday, but something fun to do to change it up, mix it up. Next month is May, and May just makes me think about Mother's Day and spring and flowers. So you could do, like, depending on the weather and the climate where you are, you could do nature walks where you find different flowers. You could do a scavenger hunt. You could look for different colors. You can go outside and paint with watercolors. And then you focus on women like queens of the Bible or women in the Bible who made a big impact in our faith and in the world. You can honor the mothers in your family, whether that's moms, your mom, the kid's mom, so you, the aunts in your family, grandmothers, any other woman that they think is special in their life. They could make a little craft or write them a note or a letter, something from the heart and super sweet. Then the next month, June, obviously if we did Mother's Day, we have to do Father's Day, right? So you could study kings and important men in the Bible to honor the fathers, and you could again make a little craft or write a note or a card to the men in your kids' lives, their dad, their grandpa, their uncle, whoever is in their life, a male figure that is a positive influence for them, just to show some love to them. I could also study our founding fathers of our country if we're focusing on men for the month of June. Leading into July, our independence. Of course, you want to study the American Revolution and why we celebrate the 4th of July. They could study the flag and how it's changed over the years and what it means, why we have the number of stripes and stars on the flag. Anything really about America would be great to do during the month of July. And if you want to do the color theme, of course, you could do red, white, and blue, whether you want that to be dressing in red, white, and blue, or finding things in your house that are red, white, and blue, making snacks that are red, white, and blue, or crafts. There's lots of fun things depending on how deep you want to go in your theme. The next month is August, and August makes me think of summer. So I thought it would be neat to do a study on different cultures and things that they do in the summer. So again, bringing in that different is not wrong. You want your kids to study different cultures and learn about different traditions. You're exposing them to different cultures and different lifestyles. And I just think it would be neat to learn how other people do things differently than we do. And of course, you could do all the fun summer things in August. If you are homeschooling year round, maybe you're doing school at the beach or school by the pool, outside, whenever you can get outside is great. So doing some kind of artwork using the leaves and things that you find outside. There's so many different fun things that you can do in the month of August, as long as it's not too hot. Then the next month is September. Grandparents' Day is in September, so I thought it would be fun to study your family history. So I love doing pedigrees or family trees, and I think it's super fun to look back as many generations as you can go. There's lots of places that you can search online. I like Ancestry. You do have to have a subscription to go a certain depth into the program, but it is fun to talk to. Maybe you could have your kids interview their grandparents and have them tell them stories about when they were a child or anything they remember from their parents or their grandparents. So then your kids are learning family dynamics and how families change over the years. They could make a craft for their grandparents to give them on Grandparents' Day. The next month is October, and October makes me think of Columbus. We don't celebrate Halloween, so that doesn't come into play here. If you do, there's tons of ideas that you can do with that for your kids. We focus on Columbus and exploring and sea travels. So really learning about how crazy that trip was from Europe all the way over to what is now the United States, and just the faith and the courage and the perseverance that was required for that journey and how many lives were lost and just the sacrifices that they made to come and explore this new land. It's really interesting. And then, of course, you could have your kids be their own little explorers. You could make a fort in your living room and pretend to sail to new lands. There's lots of ways you can go with this, but I thought it would be fun to focus on travel, and especially traveling in the sea, different boat activities. You can even do science things where you talk about sinking and floating and have them test it out, or they could design their own boat out of aluminum foil and see how many pennies they can stack on it before it sinks. There's lots of fun things that you can do with water. November, obviously with Thanksgiving, we want to focus on gratitude and having a grateful heart and being thankful and being content with what you have. It's so difficult, I think, for kids to look at other kids and see what they have and look at other people and want that coveting kind of heart response. Is kind of hard to break sometimes, but if you are grateful, that is a great way to focus on what you have instead of what you want and what you don't have. I thought it would be fun to start a gratitude journal. So that's just something that you can make a list of everything you're grateful for, and you'd be surprised at what your kids will come up with. Of course, it's I'm grateful for my family and Jesus and all those things, but then sometimes they'll start getting specific, and I'm thankful for this very specific Lego person's name, or I'm thankful that my sister shared with me today. So it's really sweet to see what they come up with, and it's a nice reminder for adults to continue to be thankful for what we have. It would also be fun to study the Pilgrims and Native Americans, as that's how Thanksgiving came to be, right? They came together and had their great feast where they were celebrating and just becoming friends. So it would be a great idea to have like all of that beforehand, so then when they celebrate Thanksgiving Day, they really have a better understanding. It's not just let's get together as a family and eat a bunch of food, although that is super fun. There is meaning behind why we do that, and I think sometimes in the holiday hustle and bustle, some of that meaning gets lost, unfortunately. And the last month of the year is December. And in December, it's super fun to celebrate the birth of Jesus. So last week I mentioned baking a cake for baby Jesus, singing happy birthday to Jesus, saying something that you're going to do for Jesus as his birthday present from you. Maybe you're going to sacrifice something, or maybe you're going to go volunteer somewhere. Those would all be great gifts to give Jesus for his birthday. Of course, you want to read the story of Jesus's birth in the Bible. There's a few different places in the New Testament that they give the actual story of when he was born. It would be fun to sing carols together as a family. And I also like to teach my girls the history behind St. Nicholas, which is where many people believe Santa Claus came from. And we actually do a little thing with St. Nicholas Day. I can't remember. It's like the 10th or the 11th or 12th of December, something before Christmas. They set their little slippers or their shoes out, and in the morning it's filled with candy and little trinkets, which is cute and fun. But it does give you a little bit of a history behind St. Nicholas and what kind of a person he was, and he modeled, in my opinion, lots of qualities that we should be modeling today: caring for others and loving your neighbor. So those are just some ideas to keep it fun. I do have a planner that I created that is more of a monthly view. Now that I'm on year 5 of homeschooling, I think I finally figured out what works for me at this moment in time. And I like the monthly view because it's kind of a bird's eye view of the month. We like to do some kind of history focus, a hymn each month, and then I work on like a specific personality or character trait that I want my kids to have, and we might even work on like a skill like measuring in the kitchen or something. And that's just kind of like my home base for when I have some extra time, or when I'm planning out my activities for the day. I'm not super rigid in my planning anymore. I do like the freedom that homeschool brings. So these are ideas if you do a monthly calendar kind of plan that you could just kind of write in there for some extra fun sprinkled in throughout the month. If you would like my link to my calendar just put, it's really a planner, just put planner in the comments and I will send you that information. I hope this gave you some ideas that you can try with your own kids, and I hope that gave you some value today.